Hello and welcome into another episode of Timekeepers, a show about dope watches. In today's episode, we're taking a look at a relatively new model from 7 Friday in the T series. And while this watch is lighter and thinner than what you might expect from 7 Friday, it still packs a serious punch and has a ton of awesome features that we're gonna cover in this video. But what I really love about this watch is the concept that's behind it. This watch is directly inspired by a social environment, and we're gonna spend some time unpacking this artistic interpretation, which led to a pretty gorgeous watch in my opinion. I'm Adam the Orlando Drummer, and today we're taking a deep dive of 7 Friday's T202. Let's do it. Let's get some main specs out of the way. One of the standout features of the T202 is actually just its size. Now, by watch standards, this is a relatively large watch, coming in at 45 millimeters by 45.6 millimeters. It also has a thickness of just under 13 millimeters. But I should mention that by 7 Friday standards, this watch is actually just a little bit undersized when compared to its predecessors in the P and the M series. Of course, in the watch world, 45 millimeters is still considered somewhat large, but if you're not a large watch person, this might be a good place to start if you want to put some hair on your chest. I'm just kidding. Kind of. I really don't like small watches. But the cool thing is, even with this size reduction, this watch still has a great weight to it, coming in at 110 grams. It's not a light watch by any means. It actually feels pretty heavy to me, and it falls in that sweet spot with 7 Fridays, where it's heavy enough to feel like you're wearing something that is of quality and value, but it's light enough to forget that you're wearing it, especially when you're playing drums. Like all 7 Fridays, you can find an NFC chip embedded in the back of this watch, which allows you to scan it on your phone via the 7 Friday app. So you can make sure that you have an authentic 7 Friday, and you can register the watch to your name. And I really dig the case back on this watch too, which is a slightly different design than what you might see in some other 7 Friday models. The T202 is powered by a TMI NH70 motor, which is different than the Miyota engines often found in 7 Fridays, but the TMI still comes with the same 40-hour power reserve, and it's a notoriously reliable watch engine. The case of this watch is a 2-piece construction, those 2 pieces being the watch bezel and then the case itself. When compared to this watch's predecessors, which mostly have 3 layers, I think thinning out all the layers of the T202 gives it a really unique simplicity. The case and bezel are both treated with a PVD coating, which is a super durable finish that we discussed in the 3rd episode of this Timekeeper series. The finishes on this watch range from polished metal to brush metal to even some sandblasting, which we obviously love on this channel. Now overall, the color scheme here is very masculine. It's based around this mid-range gunmetal color. But of course, we have plenty of highlights throughout the watch, including the rose gold grooves that line the bezel and the rose gold crown, which has this super slick 7F engraving. I really like that touch on this specific piece. I think it looks super classy. Another standout feature of this watch is the glass itself. Now, it's K1 mineral crystal, which is very durable, but even cooler is the fact that it's actually tinted glass, not much different than you would find on a pair of high-end sunglasses. With the right lighting and angles, you can catch some really unique reflections off of the glass. Looks super cool. The strap on this watch is genuine calfskin, and like all 7 Fridays, it's extremely comfortable and durable. I have several of these same straps that are several years old, and all of them are holding up fine. On both the hour and the minute hands of this watch, you'll find luminous white paint, which helps you tell the time a little bit quicker by drawing attention to those hands on the watch. Now for the fun part, let's talk about the design concept of this watch. So, like I mentioned in the intro, this watch's design is inspired by an environment. Now, 7 Friday's description of this environment is a very masculine one. I'm picturing cigars by a fire with, childhood friends. We're sitting in luxurious chairs with something expensive to drink. I am so down with whatever is going on in this scenario. But one thing I really love about this design concept is the marriage of the analog to the digital, so to speak. This watch's design is taken from a really organic scene. We have burning embers of a fire, the smell of leather, the emotional element of being around your good friends, and these are all very human textures, and I think integrating these very analog or even like biological elements into a technical platform like a watch, man, that must be a really difficult thing to do creatively. But here's where I think drummers can actually take something from this design concept. Turning the human experience into measurable, quantifiable technical data is something that drummers are very good at, because the environment that is your life, whether it be your friends or your attitude or your habits or your personal style, these all influence who you are when you play music. And even with all of those organic influences, we come to the kit and ultimately we end up using mathematics to express ourselves, whether we know it or not. In many ways, drummers convert the analog into the digital, the biological into the binary. So my challenge for you is, for this next week, see if you can find examples of this happening in your own drumming. You know, maybe there's a certain fill that you would describe as the angry fill, and if so, you know, what exactly makes it so angry? How did you get from an emotion, this human element, to a pattern, the mathematical element? And is there something that we can learn about ourselves if we explore that relationship between the human factor that we bring to the table and the mathematical or the technical factor that the study of rhythm forces us to confront? In my eyes, this is exactly what 7 Friday did with this watch. They interpreted the human textures from a specific environment, a specific scene, and they turned those elements into something that is uniquely theirs in a different context. I think all musicians can learn something from that level of artistic execution. I just find those interpretations to be insanely impressive, and I think there is a direct correlation between somebody sitting in a room with their friends and there's a fire and cigars and a nice drink, and then saying, man, I see a watch around here. This could be a watch. That is high-level artistry, and I would love to think that we could apply that into our own perspectives and experiences as drummers. I went pretty deep on this one. This was supposed to be about a watch, but boy, them analogies, they'll get you. So some closing thoughts on the T202. I think this watch is definitely an excellent entry point into the 7 Friday ecosystem, and it would be a great first watch for somebody who's looking to step into some slightly more luxurious territory. I think this piece is super versatile, but overall it falls on that dressy side, so it's a good one to save for those classier occasions. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Timekeepers. Adam here, the Orlando drummer, and I will catch you in the next one. Later.